You're listening to Keek on the Mic. Keek on the Mic. A podcast all about the Chicago Bears. This podcast starts right now. Keek on the Mic.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before we get this video started, make sure you drop a subscription for me. That would be much appreciated. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page at Keek on the Mic, and you can also listen to this podcast episode on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you rate and review that podcast. That would be much appreciated. So we have some huge news out of Hallis Hall and some huge news for the Chicago Bears today as Chuck Pagano has decided to retire. Not only that, the Chicago Bears are deciding to retain Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy for the 2021 season. This is huge. You know, first of all, let's start with Chuck Pagano. I had a feeling that Chuck Pagano was going to be fired anyways, but this is even bigger that he's actually retiring. I have to give the man his respect. He was a hell of a coach. It just didn't work out in Chicago. We knew that move needed to be made, so I'm super pumped, super happy that he is actually retiring because it just didn't work out for our defense. Our defense actually regressed with Chuck Pagano. And the question is now for the Chicago Bears is who will replace him? So I don't want to sit here and give you guys a full list of who will actually replace him or who will be actually a good fit. But the first person I would probably actually do is Jay Rodgers, the Bears D-line coach. There's been a couple opportunities. He's been there for a while. I think that would be a pretty, I guess, a decent fit for the Bears as he's been there for a while and he knows the players. Will he actually get, promoted to DC? We do not know that yet. But all I know is that Chuck Pagano is retiring. I wish him the best in his retirement. Never hated, actually super hated the guy. I hated how he ran the defense and how the defense regressed under him. Yes. But I don't have any ill feelings against Chuck Pagano, so I wish him the best. In regards to Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, this move is interesting for the Chicago Bears. For the last couple of days, the Chicago Bears were just being very quiet. So, they got their butts kicked to the Saints in the wildcard round, and then they just went quiet. And reports came out this morning that no one knew what was going on in Hallis Hall. Even the coaches and the employees had no clue what the Chicago Bears, the upper management, what was going to happen with Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. If I had to be quite honest with you guys, I had every feeling that Ryan Pace was going to get fired. Ryan Pace, in six seasons as the Bears GM, has gone 39-50. 39-50. That is not good. Not only that, Ryan Pace is not good at evaluating quarterback talent. Yes, we can sit here and say he's had a couple of good signings. Keem Hicks traded for Khalil Mack. He drafted Tariq Cohen, Eddie Jackson. But when we need him the most, the position that we need the most, and everyone knows this, is quarterback. So I am not too sure why the Bears think it's okay to keep him for one more season. What worries me about Ryan Pace is not only he doesn't evaluate well, the Bears finally have a first-round pick this upcoming draft. And it's at number 20, so we may have a chance to get a decent quarterback if that's the route they want to go. That concerns me a little bit. Maybe he will get this one right. We don't know that. But the fact of the matter is giving him that opportunity again just kind of scares me. And it's kind of almost the upper management telling the fans that they don't want to win. We know Ryan Pace's history of drafting quarterbacks or even trying to sign a quarterback. It just doesn't work out. So I'm a little confused on why they would keep Ryan Pace. In terms of Matt Nagy, I kind of had a feeling that they were going to give him one more opportunity. The reason is that he is a winning head coach. He went 28-20 so far as the Bears head coach. Obviously, he's 0-2 in the postseason, so that's not very good. Obviously, we brought him here because he was an offensive guru, and our offense just keeps getting worse and worse every year as he is calling the plays, and it's just not working. But I did feel that the Bears maybe should have given him one more year just to see. Let's see if he can get it done. I know people are going to be like, Bubba, do you really think he can get it done in one more season? We don't know that. This is a guy that back in 2018 went 12-4 in his first season and won Coach of the Year. So we really don't know. If Matt Nagy, wants to succeed as a head coach, he needs to get back to, first of all, not calling the plays. It's just not working. He needs to stop calling plays. 2, you need to go get a good offensive coordinator to call the plays for the Chicago Bears offense. If it's Bill Lazor still, great. Bill Lazor is doing decent as the OC. Or maybe you can go get Doug Peterson. That's another option as an offensive coordinator for the Bears. But the fact of the matter is that the Bears were doing pretty well when Matt Nagy stopped calling the plays. Matt Nagy is a very good players coach. That's what I like to call him. So, yes, I am a little shocked that they kept Matt Nagy, but I'm not, surprised either. So, we're gonna see what these guys can do. It's interesting that they made these moves. I thought they were gonna take the rest of the week before they came out and made these moves, but obviously the upper management of the Chicago Bears feels that keeping Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy for one more year is what's best for the Chicago Bears, and I guess us fans have to deal with it for one more year. Is there a chance that the Bears have another terrible year, a disappointing year? Yeah. The Bears can easily probably go 8-8 next year. Not only because of, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, but the Bears' schedule is super hard. And not only that, we don't know who's going to be our quarterback next year. As of right now, we don't know if they're going to re-sign Mitchell Trubisky. And if they don't re-sign Mitchell Trubisky, it may seem that Nick Foles will be our starter next year. So there's a lot of question marks with bringing these guys back. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. I don't know what's in store, but I hope you guys are ready to ride with the Chicago Bears, because we don't know what's going to happen. So before I end this video, I want to know what you guys think about the Chicago Bears keeping Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Tell me in the comments below and tell me how you feel about it. But make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Make sure you like this podcast. Make sure you share this podcast with all the Bears fans you know. And make sure you can also listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you rate and review this podcast, and that'll be much appreciated. But other than that, I'll be back with all news Bears video next time right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys.
Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy is Benny Hunter. Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down.